that we had last week. If you haven't seen it, you can go to our YouTube channel, and that webinar is now available. And we had a phenomenal number of people watch that webinar that was providing information on things that you can do to protect yourself from this novel coronavirus. And this, of course, is before the vaccine or other drugs may be an option. So today, I'm going to be covering a number of questions that people have had about the information that was presented. We're going to go back over some of those things again, and you'll have also an opportunity to submit any questions that you like into the chat window. Last time that we had our webinar, we had almost 1,000 people online, so I will do my best to get to as many questions as possible. It's obviously not going to be possible to answer everyone's questions, but I'll do as many as I can. First thing is that I want you to know through all of this, most of you know that LifeWave is a California-based company, even though we have offices all over the world. And I suppose one of the concerns, since California has been going into lockdown, is what is the status of our office. So we have looked to research information that's available through the federal government and the state of California. We have also spoken with our attorney about this, and very fortunately, LifeWave is considered essential, meaning that we are allowed to stay open. One of the things that we are doing is looking to work with a number of different hospitals. There's 2 hospitals that have made requests for our product to help support the energy, stamina, and provide sleep, pain relief to the staff at these hospitals. I can't get into any more detail than that at this time, but because we are providing products out to staff in hospitals, because we're providing product to doctors within our community, our company is deemed to be essential, so therefore we can stay open. We also do have plenty of inventory. Because we have been in momentum and growing so rapidly this year, we already had enough inventory of raw materials to be manufacturing for the next 4 to 6 months. So we should be very well insulated against any potential disruptions in the pipeline of raw materials and supply chain. So just want to give you confidence to know that we're working on this and looking at it daily. But we don't expect any interruptions in our ability to manufacture and supply product. Our manufacturing facilities in Ireland are open. Our manufacturing facilities in the United States are open. And want to let you all know that I'm very, very proud of the dedication and commitment that our staff is showing so we can keep our business operating and provide people with our products that are helping to support them through this very, very stressful time. Now, we have been discussing as a staff and in our community, what can we do to provide relief and help and support to those members of the LifeWave community. And we're taking a number of different initiatives. The first is with a helping hand program. We're going to be starting off by looking to provide financial assistance to those people that are in our community. Maybe they're just getting started or they're earning less than $200 a week, and just an extra $50 would help them get some extra supplies or food that they might need to help in their survival. So this is going to be something that we're going to be doing in the coming weeks, and if necessary, in the coming months. This is going to cost LifeWave well in excess of over $1 million based on our current projections. But we're going to be doing this as a way to help to serve our great members and customers around the world. There's never been a greater need, and we want to be there to help. We're also looking at providing free products to those people in need. As you know, we don't make any claims that our products can be used to prevent, treat, or cure any type of disease, including the coronavirus. But We do have people that would love to use our products for supporting their overall immune function, supporting their health and energy, providing pain relief, and maybe they lost their job, or they've had a cutback in their hours because of this crisis, and they can't afford our products. We're looking for ways to get our products at no cost to these individuals, and find a way to do that where there's not going to be any abuse of the system. So I did want to let you know that we're doing that. Myself and our VP of Marketing, Jim Caldwell, are going to be scheduling regular calls for the foreseeable future. These are going to be weekly calls with our leaders around the world. So this will be members of our mastermind community, as well as our senior presidential directors. And we want to be working with these outstanding representatives of our community to look at what can we do better to help those in need. So this is a time when we can be positive, supportive of one another, and provide those with less with a little bit more. So we're going to be working with our leadership to explore new and better ways that we can have outreach programs to help those in our community get the help that they need. So our first call with the leadership about this subject is going to happen tomorrow. We're also preparing a program for April, and we were meeting with our staff this morning to talk about the scope and magnitude of this, and how we can pull this off in a very, very short period of time. So I did want to let you know that we are working on an initiative for April to specifically help those in need. We're also looking at relief efforts. One of the things our community has been so incredible about since our very beginning has been to look at where there is a need and then fill it. So for example, in the past, whether or not it would be a hurricane, earthquake, bushfires that happened in Australia, we were always there to make donations to the Red Cross, donations to other organizations, and provide our product. And so this is one of the things we're going to be looking at now. This is obviously a massive global problem, but we would like to be able to get our products into the hands of those that need it. And so we're going to be working with the mastermind to look at how we can get free product to those people that need it. One last thing before we start, I know that's been a long list, but because there was so much interest in the information that was presented last Tuesday, we have created a PDF document to distill down this information. So if you wanted to take that document to your doctor and ask them about any of the recommendations and things that I suggested, you'd have a document that you could download and print and do that. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to be covering today. And let me just share screen here so you can see this. All right, perfect. Okay, so the first thing is any of the information that is presented today is not meant to substitute the recommendations from a medical doctor. This is not medical advice, and I am not a medical doctor. And this is simply to give you some options that you can present to your healthcare practitioner. And I would strongly advise that you begin looking at these options now before you get infected. God forbid that happens. I hope that none of you get infected with this horrible disease, but it's better to be prepared in advance. So we're going to cover some summary information from last week. I'm not going to be redundant about this, but I do want to cover some information and clarify a few things since there's been so many questions about it. Again, a reminder that during this time, we are not going to give any type of protocols for where to put the patches for the coronavirus. So don't send me a question about that because I'm not going to answer it. Okay, we don't claim our products cure or treat any type of disease. We don't claim that our patches prevent getting infected with the coronavirus. That would be irresponsible because we don't have any clinical studies to show that. So we're providing other information where there is a great basis for, based on clinical information that you can use to help yourself. Okay, and also please don't tell people that our patches can be used to prevent people from getting infected. Again, it's irresponsible. We just don't have any type of scientific information to make that kind of statement. I am not a medical doctor. I am an inventor. And I love to research things such as this topic with the coronavirus to provide people with information. And so that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm providing you with some information based on credible clinical scientific documentation so that you can take this to your healthcare professional and formulate a strategy for yourself that you believe is going to help possibly protect yourself, or if you do get infected, reduce the severity of the symptoms. All right, so those are the things that we're going to look at. So last week, what we looked at was what information is available on coronavirus that could be of help in having us come up with a strategy to protect ourselves. And one of the documents that we looked at here was the subject of how long does the coronavirus last on a surface. And one of the things that I highlighted was that coronavirus only lasts on copper for up to 4 hours. And what I found interesting about this is that in my first job after college, I was designing medical devices for a company in New Jersey. And one of our projects was looking how we could create tubing made of either copper, silver, or gold, and use the antimicrobial properties of these metals for the purpose of killing germs. This is very, very important because copper, obviously, is present in the human body in pretty significant quantities, preferably if we can get that in our diet or through supplementation. So the question would be, would supplementing with copper possibly protect us from getting infected or shorten the duration of the infection, or even reduce some of the severity of the symptoms? And I went to some additional information, but long story short, there have been mechanisms identified for killing viruses with copper. Now, this specific study has to do with the use of copper to inactivate the herpes simplex virus. Now, there's obviously millions of people that are suffering with a herpes infection. This could be cold sores, genital herpes, shingles. And maybe one of the good things that comes out of this is somebody that's infected with this virus says, gee, I can take supplemental copper, I can take vitamin C, and that combination maybe gets rid of my symptoms. So maybe that's something good that comes out of this. But in any case, obviously a coronavirus and a herpes virus are very different viruses, but the point is there's a mechanism of action here that that we can look at. And there's not going to be any type of harm in taking supplemental copper or supplemental vitamin C. There's other benefits associated with copper and vitamin C, and obviously we're not going to get any harmful side effects. So from my perspective, I would definitely recommend that you speak with your doctor about taking supplemental copper, supplemental vitamin C as a strategy, and then you can also enjoy some other benefits. And why does this work? Well, vitamin C increases the production of hydrogen peroxide in the body. So it's actually when hydrogen peroxide comes in contact with copper that it gets its antiviral effects. So we're going to skip down now through the presentation, and I want to clarify a few things here. Oh, we had some questions before I get to the supplement part. We did have some questions about ozone generators, and it's turning out that ozone air purifiers are becoming very, very difficult to come by. We had gone to place an order on ozone air purifiers for our office in California to find out that there was about a 6 to 8 week backlog on the specific industrial quality ozone air generator that we wanted. An alternative is to get an air purifier that uses an ultraviolet light to kill viruses. So in other words, you get an air purifier with what's called a HEPA filter. The air runs through the purifier, filters out all these germs and microbes, and there's an ultraviolet light. Think of it as like a tanning lamp. There's this ultraviolet light that's inside the air purifier, and that light will destroy the viruses. So the air going back out is completely clean. That would be an okay alternative. It would certainly be better than nothing. But the idea is that if you can get ozone into the air, the ozone is going to kill the airborne viruses. So that, if you're at work and you're concerned, does the person sitting a couple feet away from you, are they breathing the coronavirus into the air? By having your employer or having this on your desk, get an air purification system for the office, you can hopefully reduce your risk of getting infected. And of course, it's going to be better for your overall health. Okay, we covered some basics here, not going to get into this again. All right, so let's talk about this in a little bit more detail. I said, consider taking a minimum of 2 milligrams of copper daily. Now, there have been many clinical studies on this. I've covered this in previous webinars having to do with X39. The X39 patch, of course, does not put copper into the body. It is a light therapy product that helps the body to mobilize copper. So we still have to get copper into the body. And unfortunately, diets today have become rather deficient in copper. So there's clinical studies that look at 3 to 5 milligrams of copper per day as being completely safe, and 10 milligrams being the upper safe limit. So you could easily supplement with 2 milligrams of copper. That would, over the counter, you can get this as copper chelate. There's also 2.5 milligram supplements of copper glycinate. Is there a difference between the two? I would say for all practical purposes, either is okay. So I wouldn't necessarily have a preference. It would be more important that you get at least 2 to 2.5 milligrams of copper. And if you wanted to be extra sure, maybe your doctor will say, yeah, sure, 5 milligrams, 4 to 5 milligrams is okay. Now, there are other natural sources of copper. Liver is absolutely fantastic. As a matter of fact, my personal hypothesis is that liver contains other nutrients that would be detrimental to the coronavirus. I've used liver supplements, desiccated liver, for many, many years for exercise. And I go through periods where I test myself using liver versus not. And I can tell you that, and this was something discovered back in the 1950s, liver is very anabolic, meaning for those of you that are athletes, if you want to build extra muscle, liver supplementation is a great way to do it. Now, one of the reasons for this is that liver increases the delivery of oxygen to all the tissue in the body. And what have we been talking about? That viruses are highly susceptible to oxygen. Now, hydrogen peroxide is let's say, call it an active oxygen, where the oxygen you breathe is not an oxygen radical, but just simply meaning that you're getting an additional benefit to consuming liver. if you so choose to do it. But there are liver pills. But liver is a great source of natural copper, highest concentration that I'm aware of. Dark chocolate also does have copper, not near as much as liver. So if you're getting dark chocolate in your diet, that's fantastic. I would still supplement just to be completely safe. So I would think of copper as, if you're going to put things in order of priority, definitely consider copper at the very top of what you would take. Next, followed by vitamin C. And you could say these two would be, if you're going to think about a strategy for protecting yourself, this would be the top strategy: copper and vitamin C. Very inexpensive, readily available, no toxic side effects. So that would be the first thing I'd talk to your doctor about. All right. Now, vitamin C, there's many, many different forms of vitamin C. It's generally thought of that the best form of vitamin C is what's called liposomal. Liposomal means the vitamin C is surrounded by a fat, and the fat transports the vitamin C into the cell. So you could take 1,000 milligrams of liposomal vitamin C, and that would actually be equivalent to 5 times that value, about 5,000 milligrams. So liposomal vitamin C is very, very effective. But standard ascorbic acid that you would get is fine, and vitamin C is getting a little difficult to come by. So I'd say, regardless of whether or not it's ascorbic acid or ester C, ascorbyl palmitate, liposomal vitamin C, I would say take that. If you're prone to kidney stones, definitely you want to check with your doctor. Increasing vitamin C amounts can lead to kidney stones. So you want to discuss that with your doctor. Now, because what we're really interested in here is the hydrogen peroxide, are there other peroxide supplements that you can take? Well, yeah, they're just not going to be so effective when taken orally, but you can do it. A better strategy is there are medical doctors that give injections of ozone and injections of peroxide, and these are things that you could speak with a medical doctor about. Ozone by far is going to be much more powerful than hydrogen peroxide, but it's not inexpensive, and it's not readily available. And then another thing to recommend is simply gargling with hydrogen peroxide. So if you go to the store, regular over-the-counter hydrogen peroxide is 3% concentrate. Now, hydrogen peroxide is effective down to 0.5%. So meaning the regular mouthwash that you gargle with can kill the novel coronavirus based on information that's available. You can't depend on that. I mean, it might be fine to reduce the viral load in your throat, but it's not necessarily a cure, right? Nobody really knows. But if you thought that maybe you were exposed to someone, you went out to get some, went to the supermarket to get some food, and you were concerned, could you pick something up? Come back and gargle with hydrogen peroxide. It's safe, inexpensive, and very, very effective. It would be better to have food grade hydrogen peroxide, but that's often sold in a concentration of 30%, and you definitely have to dilute that with water. Never, ever consume or put in your mouth a 30% hydrogen peroxide product. You will get a very, very serious burn. This is powerful stuff. Hydrogen peroxide has been used as rocket fuel for torpedoes on submarines. This is pretty serious, powerful stuff. So you have to dilute it. So the mouthwash gargle, that's 3%, perfectly safe. Okay. All right, now I wanted to spend, I mean, I'm going to get to some additional questions here, but there have been some questions on these supplements, and I did want to talk about that. Again, as a priority, I would be looking at copper and vitamin C as a base strategy. Now, there's other things that you can add to this that will theoretically improve your immune function and your resistance to infection. And I say theoretically because while each of these nutrients is known to provide value as an antiviral, the coronavirus that we're dealing with now is novel, and so there's simply not enough information to really say. But all of these nutrients are very, very safe, and they're not going to cause any harm when used as directed. So if we were going to look at maybe an order of priority, after you're taking a base of copper and vitamin C, I would strongly look at BHT. Now, BHT is difficult to get. You can order it over the internet. There are going to be suppliers of BHT, and the good news is that it's very inexpensive. It's fat soluble, so you take it with coconut oil. And when you look at the dosing on this, BHT comes in capsules that are 250 milligrams. You might want to consider a dose of 500 milligrams. But again, talk to your doctor about this. Anyone that has a pre-existing condition with their liver might not want to take BHT. Do not drink alcohol with BHT. It will aggravate the liver. There's information going back to the 1970s about how BHT will literally rip apart viral infections, viruses. And there was even a study that showed that one treatment protocol of 4 to 6 weeks of BHT could completely eradicate a herpes infection. Now, there's been information that BHT is toxic. I'm not sure that I buy into that because it is such a powerful antiviral. But anyway, you need to research this yourself. It's not known if BHT is useful with the coronavirus or not. But it is cheap. It does function as a antioxidant. There's longevity benefits to it. So I would encourage you to take a look at it. Other supplements like garlic, oregano oil, and olive leaf are things that you really should only use if you have symptoms. Olive leaf and oregano oil specifically are also shown to rip apart viruses. They're very, very powerful, but they're not intended to be used daily. They can actually destroy the bacteria in your gut. So you want to be careful about using those daily. With colostrum is something you can use daily. Now, colostrum is interesting because what it does is it helps modify the way that your body deals with infection. So it can help your body cope with a new virus much, much better. So colostrum, if you buy that in bulk, you could take several grams per day, let's say 3-4 grams per day. And that might constitute an effective dose. Okay. Now, some of these other supplements, glutamine is something that you could use daily. Very inexpensive. It's a powder. You can add it to, let's say, a smoothie or protein shake. And the value here is that this is going to increase the number of immune cells in your body. So is this going to be effective at helping to suppress the coronavirus? We don't know. But again, inexpensive, harmless, and it will improve your immune function. Ginger root, unbelievably powerful. You can completely eradicate a viral infection with even 1 serving of ginger. How does this happen? Well, you take a ginger root, you cut it into slices, you put that into clean water, you boil, this would be about 1 liter of water. You boil it for 10 minutes, you let it cool, and then you drink this as a tea. And very important, you want to drink that entire 1 liter of tea in a single sitting. And you'll feel your body heat up. And the ginger is a very powerful antiviral, antibacterial. So that's something that you can keep. If you think that you're maybe starting to come down with something, you're not sure, this at least would be something you could do immediately that may help. Zinc gluconate would be another one that you should have around. Zinc lozenges, I've noticed, are difficult to come by, but zinc gluconate kills the coronavirus. Now, that it kills the coronavirus associated with the flu. Whether or not it kills the novel coronavirus, again, we don't know. But again, there's no harm in taking it. The only caution with zinc is don't take more than 50 milligrams a day. Shoot for maybe 25 milligrams as your top. And this is because too much zinc can actually impair immune function. So zinc is one of those things that if you have enough of it, it's fantastic. If you have too much, it's a problem. Vitamin D, I would say 5,000 IUs. Get a 5,000 IU pill, have it every day. And if you can, get 50,000 IUs. You could have that once per week. And again, it's not, discuss it with your doctor, but completely safe, non-toxic, and vitamin D is going to support your overall immune health. There's even been clinical studies where this is going back decades now, where a medical doctor was doing a study in New York, and he had his cancer patients sitting out in the sunlight. And he found that by elevating their vitamin D with sunlight, that their recovery from cancer was dramatically improved. And this is why many medical doctors that practice natural therapies use very, very high doses of vitamin D with their cancer patients. Okay, so that was more than, maybe more than a quick overview. Let's see here. Let me go back to this. All right, perfect. Okay. So we have lots of questions here. And let's see what we can cover. So let's see, there's a number of questions here. I'm going to try to keep this related to COVID-19. There are questions about some of our patch products that might be unrelated. So I'm not going to answer those unless we have extra time. Okay, if garlic shortens one's telomeres, is this the same for onions? I have not seen a clinical study as to whether or not onions provide that effect or not. Actually, I would commend you. I would commend the intelligent lady who is asking the question for her insight into that. The only clinical study that I've seen is with garlic. Maybe one of the reasons why this question is being asked is it's for people that are involved with meditation. Garlic and onions it is suggested not to take because you can't reach higher states of enlightenment with garlic and onions. Now, whether or not that has anything to do with the telomere mechanism, I don't know. But if you're going to use garlic, use it intermittently, meaning you use it when you're sick and that's it. But garlic is not necessarily going to shorten telomeres. What it's going to do is inhibit the ability of the telomeres to lengthen. So if one was doing research in lengthening telomeres, you would not want your participants taking garlic because it would inhibit the telomeres from lengthening. Now that said, if someone had cancer, garlic is a phenomenal remedy, because cancer cells produce infinite amounts of telomerase, and their telomeres never shorten. So there's clinical studies where people use garlic to as a very, very effective treatment for cancer. Matter of fact, a number of years ago, I met a medical doctor from Mexico, and he had an 85% success rate at treating cancer. He only used two things: garlic, and this is a garlic extract, by the way, garlic and glutathione injections. So he would give people IV drips of glutathione to boost up their immune system, and he would give them injections of garlic to prevent the cancer cells from reproducing. Okay. So, this is kind of interesting that someone is saying there's so many odd theories about there. Do you think 5G has anything to do with it? Yeah, I have seen this theory going around the internet that it was the proliferation of 5G in Wuhan, and there's more 5G cell towers or transmitters in Wuhan than any other place in the world. Could there be a correlation, or is this a coincidence? I don't think that there is enough information today to really draw a definitive conclusion on this. This wouldn't, you could speculate and say, well, because the coronavirus, came from bats in Wuhan, China, and there's 5G towers there, therefore 5G created coronavirus. There's a big leap there. So there's more information that would be needed. I think one thing we could definitively say is that synthetic radiation, in other words, there's radiation that is natural to our environment. Synthetic radiation in the form of 5G and any Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cell phone communications is not healthy for the human body. Now, the human body can resist damage to that is caused by cell phone radiation, but once our immune systems become compromised, then we can be prone to diseases like cancer. But whether or not 5G is going to push us off the edge, it's terrifying. And we should be looking at things to protect us, which I am, by the way. And it actually looks like copper supplementation and the ability to mobilize copper is going to prove it to be a very, very effective means for protecting ourselves from 5G. Need more data on that, but I think you're going to see that's coming. Okay. Incubation periods on coronavirus. There's quite a bit of information that has come out about this, but it's constantly changing, and I'm not the expert. We've heard that the incubation period in the beginning was you could be walking around for 2 weeks before you knew you had any symptoms, so people had to go into quarantine for 14 days. There was a revision to that where they said, no, once you become infected, you start showing symptoms in as little as 5 days. So I'm not aware that there's anything really definitive on this at the moment. But I think it's safe to say that the more that we can isolate ourselves in the short term and limit our contact with people outside of our homes, probably the better off that we're going to be. Let's see, what about ozone air purifiers? Okay, so this is a great question. There is a big difference between an industrial ozone air purifier and one that's intended for use when people are in the room. So let me explain. In our laboratory in San Diego, we use an industrial quality ozone air purifier to shock the room. And what that means is instead of using chemicals that are harmful to the environment, we use ozone, and we use a generator for that. And the ozone will destroy viruses, bacteria, and mold on any of the surfaces in our laboratory. Now, we leave those generators running for about 4 hours. And during that time, you cannot have anyone in the room. It would be very, very harmful to that person's lungs. So you can't be in the room. Also, ozone has a half-life, and you're not able to be in the room, let's say, for a period of 20 hours or so after that. So that's a commercial ozone air purifier. Now, there are other ozone air purifiers where the level of ozone output is very, very low, and every country is a little bit different on the safety levels. But the point is that there are ozone air purifiers that are made specifically so you can breathe in the ozone that is being generated. So we would want to make the distinction between the two. Great question. Okay, here's a question. I'm confused about ozone being used when my doctor air purifier removes ozone. You know, there's a lot of false information about ozone. For example, the media sometimes refers to this as ground level ozone, like it's a pollutant. Keep in mind, nature generates ozone. Every time there is lightning, which is all the time on the surface of the earth, regardless of where you are, at some place on the earth, there is a lightning storm, and the lightning is generating ozone, and it's this ozone that is replenishing the ozone in the ozone layer. If we were not generating ozone, we couldn't survive. And also, ozone is nature's method for purifying the air of harmful bacteria and viruses. So our breathing, living planet produces ozone as a natural and quite necessary part of the air. So keep that in mind. Now, one of the authorities on ozone is a Mr. Ed McCabe. Ed has been ridiculed during his career. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, but he is a journalist who has interviewed doctors all over the globe who use ozone as a medical treatment. So I would definitely recommend you read a book by Ed McCabe on oxygen therapies and specifically on ozone therapy, and I think you'll find that quite valuable. That's a subject that could be talked about for quite a long time. LifeWave is such an amazing company. Thank you. Really appreciate that. All right, let's see. Do I recommend any ozone or HEPA product specifically? No, not really, not at this time. They're very, very difficult to come by. So I'd say any type of air purifier that you can get would be beneficial. If you can get an ozone air purifier, so much the better. But if only thing that's available is HEPA, I'd say it's better than nothing. But if you can get something that puts very, very small amounts of ozone into the air, that would be much better. All right, let's see. Lots of questions. Let's see. What LifeWave products could I use to help my 92-year-old mother with her immune system during this time? Okay, so let's say a few basics about immune function. Um, the first thing is always do the basics, meaning have a clean lifestyle where you're getting plenty of rest, you're getting some exercise, and you're eating healthy. I realize that there's going to be challenges for a woman that's 92, but drinking lots of water, staying away from excess amounts of caffeine, having a healthy diet, walking, all these things are going to be quite necessary. So if you've got, and then of course taking vitamin supplements to compensate for the diet, any deficiencies. So once those things are in place, what can we do? I would look at the immune system as being a positive and negative, a yin and a yang, meaning that there's going to be two sides to the immune system story. On one side, you have the antioxidants, which are there to protect. So antioxidants that are used as part of the immune system would be things like SOD and glutathione. Now, our glutathione patch obviously is going to elevate glutathione, but clinical studies that we've done have shown that the Eon patch will elevate SOD. Those of you that are using X39, we have found that we get increases in glutathione. We most likely will also see an increase in SOD from taking X39, but we haven't validated that yet in a study. So, and X39 it does have a significant impact on immune function. So I would say X39, Eon, and glutathione would be the go-to products there. Now, the other side of the immune system would be the reactive oxygen species. So hydrogen peroxide, ozone, superoxide, and these are things that is not so much easy to supplement with. Vitamin C, while it can help improve hydrogen peroxide levels, it does that to a minimal amount. But there are other oxygen therapies if so needed. But the idea is that if you're exercising, you got a clean diet, you have your antioxidants, those reactive oxygen species will help balance out. But that would be it on patch products. Oh, here's an interesting question. David, which products in particular would you get into the hands of those affected by the virus for the world outreach? That's a really interesting question. We're going to be working with our leaders on this, but I think we could make a case for a few different patch products. Keep in mind that we do not want to have any regulatory problems. We don't want to be in the position of making it seem like we're claiming that our products can be used to treat this virus infection or prevent it. So it's a little bit of a tightrope here. X39 would be my first choice. The reason for that is that it has so many amazing benefits. Eon would probably be my second choice. So why would I say that? First of all, for those people that are not infected, we're all dealing with a lot of stress right now. There's uncertainty over people's jobs, about the economy. The stock market here in the US has gone up and down. Many people are probably having issues sleeping. All these things, of course, are going to have an impact on immune function. So my take on this would be to potentially provide X39 and maybe X39 and glutathione and Eon. And the reason for this is to help people cope with the stress of the situation as opposed to treating anything. And if we know that if we can reduce a person's stress, we can improve their immune system. So that's my take on it. Is the coronavirus airborne? certainly what I've seen in the news is that coronavirus can be spread through the air. But again, I would be hesitant to come to any type of conclusion on this, given how information seems to change daily and even more frequently than that. So the latest information that I've seen is that it can be transmitted through the air, and this is one of the reasons for social distancing. Oh, where can we retrieve the PDF that was mentioned earlier? That will be in the back office, and we'll make sure that we send that link out to all of our members about where you can download that. We'll be sure to keep you informed, but we'll be getting it available in the back office. Let's see, we're told to go outside or to parks, but if someone is out there who is contagious and sneezes on a windy day, how far can the wind carry the infectious droplets? Well, you know, I suppose it depends on any number of different conditions. On the bad side, you would say that coronavirus can survive several hours, at least in the air. But that's one of those, it depends. So in other words, it's also said that coronavirus will die. The novel coronavirus will die at temperatures of 86 degrees Fahrenheit and above, and at humidity levels of 80% and above. So this is all to say in climates like here in the US, in Florida, in Hawaii, places like Singapore, Hong Kong, in the Caribbean, these places might have a natural advantage, given that with the conditions of high temperature and humidity and sunlight, that this would kill the virus within minutes or even within seconds. So, but there's still a lot that's not known. So very difficult to answer your question, but hopefully that helps. You know, another thing that's maybe not known is the concept of viral load. So in other words, let's say that you got a small exposure to a very, very small amount of the virus. I realize that's a relative term. Would the immune system be able to handle that? Or is it going to be the case where the virus will go unimpeded until the immune system has developed antibodies? You know, I'm not sure if we know the answer to that or not. But it could be a matter of viral load. In other words, there has to be a tipping point for the infection to take hold. Well, this is an interesting question. Would putting a humidifier in your home help? And what about essential oils in the humidifier? You know, I suppose in theory that could help. I wouldn't be able to recommend a specific essential oil. Again, what is definitely known is that ozone is going to kill the coronavirus. There probably are essential oils that could kill a virus. That would not be my area of expertise, so just want to be clear about that. Lots and lots of questions here. Earlier, you suggested to take copper in combination with zinc. Oh, yeah. Sorry, this is not meant to be all-inclusive, but that is a great point. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, there is a ratio of in which you should have copper and zinc. So if you are going to increase your copper, you should make sure you're getting adequate amounts of zinc. And zinc gluconate has been shown to be effective at killing the coronavirus. So zinc gluconate would be definitely the preferred supplement here. Now, it's hard to find clinical information on this. The rule of thumb was always that you would take 7 milligrams of zinc to every 1 milligram of copper. And it's difficult to assess this because of diet. how much of either of these minerals do we get in our diet. But from just a strict supplement point of view, you'd say if you were taking well, let's say if you're taking 4 milligrams of copper, which is what we talked about, obviously then you're going to be getting 25 to 30 milligrams of zinc. I mentioned 25 milligrams, obviously not 7 times. I know how to multiply 7 times 4, okay? It's that you'll find a 25 milligram supplement of zinc, and that's, really close enough. Okay. Okay, as far as you know, if a person was tested positive and they recovered, will that person be immune to the virus in the future? In theory, yes, but keep in mind that this virus has already mutated several times. So I'm not sure if we completely know the answer to that, but yeah, I mean, the whole point is that when you get a viral infection, with the exception of something like AIDS, of course, but with a coronavirus, you get infected, your body develops immunity to it. You develop immune cells, and then next time you get infected, you already have immunity. You could still show symptoms, but your body is already fighting back. But lots there to really know. Oh, question on the type of liver. Does the type of liver matter? Yeah, actually, the amount of copper that's in chicken or beef is going to be different. I recall that beef liver was a little bit higher in copper than chicken liver, but I haven't looked at that information in a while. In terms of supplementation, beef liver is going to, desiccated beef liver is what's available. If you're taking chicken liver, though, I'd say you're already way ahead of the game. Okay, I use chlorine dioxide for viruses and have used it for a long time and have no problems the way I use it, since this is an oxygen type thing. How should I use it with patches that are antioxidants? Oh, this is a really interesting question. Okay, so chlorine dioxide, I mentioned this in the PowerPoint, it's very, very powerful. And if you're able to use chlorine dioxide without having any nausea, absolutely fantastic. Chlorine dioxide, again, is very inexpensive, very powerful at killing viruses. I'd say it's not for everybody, but it's one of those things. Have it in your war chest, and if you need it, you have it. How would you use it? So Frank Schallenberger, he's a medical doctor that is a world authority on ozone therapy. And actually, we had the privilege of having Dr. Schallenberger speak at our very first conference in Las Vegas in 2005. And one of the things I've heard him say is he would give people injections of ozone. This is, let's say, for people suffering with cancer, and then also injections with glutathione. And the conventional wisdom is that you never administer the two at the same time. But this actually turns out to be not true clinically. He found out there was absolutely no difference. So he would very often give an IV of glutathione while also injecting ozone, and people do great with that. So it doesn't appear to be any issue with using the glutathione patch at the same time as taking your chlorine dioxide. Can we get enough copper from desiccated liver in capsules? Unless they're doing something to filter out the copper, which I'm certain they're not, then absolutely. Keep in mind that in one serving of liver, this is, of course, if you're going to eat grass-fed liver, you could get 25 or 30 milligrams of copper. So liver is a very, very concentrated source of copper. The problem is how much are you taking, and you don't really know how much copper that it is that you're getting. But if you wanted to use desiccated liver as a supplement, I'd say, yeah, you're getting plenty of copper, probably no need to take any more. Can hyperbaric oxygen therapy kill the virus? I wouldn't rely on it. Hyperbaric oxygen is fantastic. It's a great therapy. But I prefer oxygen radicals like hydrogen peroxide and especially ozone. So I don't know in this particular case if hyperbaric oxygen would kill the virus. It could make the terrain of your body very unfavorable to a virus and may in fact shorten the recovery time, could save someone's life. So I wouldn't underestimate hyperbaric oxygen. If I didn't have ozone and peroxide available, but I was able to get hyperbaric oxygen, I would definitely do it. So hopefully that helps and gives some perspective. Does hydrogen peroxide decay rapidly? Hydrogen peroxide can remain stable for a very, very long period of time. You can put hydrogen peroxide in a bottle with a stabilizer and it'll stay like that for years. It's when it comes in contact with catalytic systems in the body like copper that it begins to break down. And that's fine. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. How can we use our energy enhancer patches to improve immune function? Okay, again, I'm just going to talk about this in generalities. And if we talk about acupuncture, there are points on the body which are known to stimulate the immune system. That in and of itself is rather vague. But anyway, we'll just talk in terms of Eastern medicine for a moment. So there are a few traditional points for stimulating immune function, but the one that I would mention would be on the large intestine meridian, and it's large intestine 4. So that's going to be found right here on the hand. So you could put the energy patches white on right, tan on left at that point. Okay, it's called large intestine 4. And if you do a Google search, you can see a drawing that will pop up on that. Would I recommend water, 2.5 pH water instead of hydrogen peroxide? I'd have to see some data on that relative to the coronavirus. I get where you're coming from. The answer is I don't know. I know that hydrogen peroxide at 0.5% will kill the novel coronavirus, but as to whether or not an acidic water or an alkaline water would do it, I don't know. My doctor said that vitamin D has to be taken with fat. Is that true? Well, vitamin D is fat soluble. Actually, you could say that any vitamin might absorb better when taken with fat. And the reason is this, that the membrane around the cell is a lipid or fat membrane. And this is why liposomal vitamin C is more effective than regular vitamin C, because it's easier for fat to get across that membrane. So it depends on the form of the vitamin D, but vitamin D in and of itself is fat soluble. Is it going to be better absorbed when taken with some fat? Yeah, I mean, you could take it with coconut oil or olive oil, saturated fat, sure. I don't think there's any harm in doing that. Oh, how do you recommend we take the copper supplements? You know, some people are going to be sensitive to some supplements, like for example, B vitamins, B complex vitamins. I would not take them on an empty stomach. That could lead to nausea. So I would recommend taking supplements with a meal. And if you're going to take it twice per day, let's say you could take it with, I fast, so I'd be taking mine with, let's say, lunch and dinner, but you could spread it out during the day if you so wish, taking it twice a day as opposed to all at once. But I would definitely recommend taking supplements with food. It will decrease your risk of stomach upset. What do I think of Rife frequencies? I'm smiling because I have been started building Rife equipment, going to give away my age here, 30 years ago. And the reason why I have 2 children is because of Rife frequencies. That was another invention of mine. Long story, I won't digress into it now. But the idea is that you could use Rife equipment to destroy a virus. While that is probably true, you'd have to know the resonant frequency at which to destroy the virus. And in this case, you'd have to have equipment and technology for doing that. So it's not going to be available to everyone. There are some other, the webinar that I gave was not meant to be all-inclusive. There are many other products out there that are antiviral, even aloe. When we talk about the sugars that are in aloe and how they can help modulate immune function, could that offer some type of benefit to fight the coronavirus? Possibly. Certainly not going to hurt to take a aloe supplement, and you may get some immune enhancing benefits from it. And there's certainly many other products. Chaga, for example, is a mushroom that is often known to be the king of mushrooms when it comes to immune function. So I haven't attempted to get into a complete analysis of every natural product or every technology that's available. It's just a few basic things that are inexpensive, available, and that you can start doing today. But that was certainly not intended to be all-inclusive. Oh, how much ginger root per 1 liter? Yeah, I mean, you could get a ginger root, let's say the size of your hand, something of a pretty good size, and then you chop that up, you clean it, shave it, chop it up into slices, and then put it in 1 liter of water. The ginger tea should be very strong. You can sweeten it with some honey if you wish, and no harm in doing that. But the important thing is you want to have that entire 1 liter, and you'll feel your body heat up, and that's very effective. Why can't we talk about the patches for the immune system? Well, the issue is that before the coronavirus, we were talking about how our patches support immune function. The concern that we have is that people will take that to the step of A plus B equals C. Well, A, our patches improve immune function. B, the coronavirus attacks the immune system, and so therefore you can use our patches to protect from the coronavirus. That's something that we don't want to have happen. So we have cautioned our members not to be associating the patches with treating or preventing the coronavirus. Is it still valid to say that glutathione supports the overall health and function of the immune system? Of course, that's still absolutely true. We just don't want anyone being opportunistic and giving someone a false hope that our products could protect from the coronavirus when we have no information to that effect. So we're trying to be very cautious. Hi, David. Would you suggest different quantities of vitamin C or copper on children? Yeah, absolutely. Child's age is going to have a lot to do with this. And I would work with a medical doctor that's a clinical nutritionist, or work with a clinical nutritionist, and they could make some assessments there. I think there would just be a general concern with a practitioner on dosing and toxicity with a child. So let a clinical nutritionist make that assessment. But yes, basically a child, let's say under the age of 12, should have less vitamin C and copper than an adult, just as a guide. What do you think about silver colloid as an antiviral? True silver colloid, there are some silver colloid products on the market that are not true silver. But true silver colloid is a very powerful antiviral. I think one of the problems is that silver is indiscriminate, meaning that it kind of kills everything. But it's not a bad option. I think there are other things that are better, but silver colloid is not a bad option. Will we have a patch to protect us from 5G? Maybe. It might already be here. We have to see. In other words, glutathione protects the body from radiation. Carnosine protects the body from radiation. Copper peptide protects the body from radiation. Are we already getting protection from 5G? I'd have to say probably, but I don't have a study that I can point to that that validates that. So we might already have a patch protecting us from 5G. We have to prove it though. Oh, last time you mentioned melatonin is an antiviral. Does silent nights help the body boost melatonin? Yes, silent nights. We actually, Dr. Melinda Connor, who's been doing our X39 studies, she was the one that did one of the studies showing that silent nights boosts melatonin. Now, to get antiviral effects, I would look at that is that when the body is protecting from viral infections, getting normal sleep is probably a very, very good prophylactic. But if we're looking at someone that was already infected with a virus, then I might be looking at supplementation. But that would obviously be an area of research. We're not really sure. Again, Dr. Schallenberger, I know that for his cancer patients and people with viral infections, he's using very, very high doses of melatonin, 30, 40, 50 milligrams a day to get these powerful antiviral effects. I am way over my limit here. And this is the problem. Once you get me with an audience and talking, it's hard for me to stop. So I hope you're all enjoying it. There's still a lot of you on the lines. I'll answer as many more as I can, but we'll wrap up shortly. What about spirulina? Sure, spirulina has a number of health benefits. It also has copper. Again, you'd want to make sure that you're getting that 2, 3, 4 milligrams a day. So you'd have to look at the copper content. But yeah, spirulina also obviously has other nutrients in it that would make it beneficial. Is ozone the same as an ion? No, we're talking about two different things here. I did this research study in college actually on neuroblastomas, the benefits of negative air ionization. Now, ozone is O3, and with air ions that can be either positive or negative. So the oxygen in the air takes on a specific electrical charge, and based on the size of that ion, depends on its therapeutic benefits. So small ions have better mobility and better therapeutic effects than larger ions. Anyway, ozone, which is O3, that's an oxygen radical, and negative air ions are good in that they help increase the absorption of oxygen into the body, but it's the ozone radical that's going to kill viruses. So there's nothing wrong with negative ion generators. They're great. But you'd really want the ozone. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions here. There's a ton. I think I've covered quite a bit. Would sitting in a sauna be effective? You know, I just saw this actually in on Joe Rogan's podcast. They had a expert there on Michael Osterholm, I think was his name, on viruses, and he was basically saying, you know, sitting in a sauna is not going to have any benefits whatsoever for a viral infection. It's great for your overall health, but it's not going to do anything for the coronavirus. So he's an expert, and that was his opinion. Okay, I think that's going to do it. He covered a lot. Okay, I think that's good for now. We were going to go an hour, and that's an hour and 15 minutes, so I think we'll call it today. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody, for your time. This is being recorded. There have been all kinds of backups with Zoom and with YouTube, so we will get this posted as soon as we can. Want to thank you all for being here. We're going to get through this. It'll be okay. We just need to remain positive and stick together and help one another, and also help those that are in need and that are less fortunate. And let's do this together as a community. So thank you, everyone, and look forward to see you on our next webinar.